Hey guys, Mike here. So, interesting day in the market. It was all over the place from green to red, red to green. I mean, it was just up and down all day long. We finally finished slightly green, shocker there, after the huge drop yesterday. But there are some things we need to look out for, and we're going to talk about that today that could really affect the markets, could affect inflation. We're going to talk about what actually was affecting the market today, or what maybe the market actually ignored. And then, after watching the video today, I finally learned about this $2 trillion that everybody keeps talking about that we still have out there in the liquidity market as far as liquidity is concerned. And so I'm going to show you that right there and show you the $2 trillion actually and talk to you in detail about that because I find it something very funny and just, I don't know, I always say it's crazy how the market works, but it doesn't surprise me a bit and how we're getting shorthanded once again by the banks. But, looking at the S&P right here, you can tell, I talked about this the other day, heading down this ladder, we're on the next rung. Shockingly, where do we bounce or stop falling yesterday was right there on that rung right there. And that's what I'm going to call it, the trend line, obviously. But, that's where we're at. And we kind of zoom in here, you'll see right there. Yesterday we bounced right off of it. And we've been doing this for a little while now. And then it bounced again today multiple times. And then when we thought, oh my God, we're actually going to fall below it and end the day below, it said, nope. Surge right above it, try to recapture it. And of course, one reason for this is right below this, which is everybody's gonna be looking at this tomorrow if we actually start to drop some more. And if we bring out our friendly Fibonacci retracement levels, the 618 right there below that trend line. So, that's gonna be a huge, look to see. And plus, also another thing is people are looking for another gap fill after that huge drop yesterday. But one thing that moved the market today is we had PPI come out. And of course, core went up, which is the important part. At 0.4%, estimated 0.3%, what we thought it was going to be. Month over month, year over year, 7.3, estimated 7.1. Previous was 7.6. And then, of course, if you look right here on this chart, you can see the headline went down. But of course, core, which is the important part, actually went up once again, which of course the Fed's not going to like that one bit. But it is what it is. And another thing, which is going to wreak havoc here if this keeps happening, is the mortgage interest rates top 6% the first time since 2008. And I mean, I can only imagine if you're in the mortgage industry, and let us know down in the comments what you are seeing. And if you get anything out of this, please hit that like and subscribe button and share the video because the channel is so close to 50,000 subscribers, and I appreciate all your support and comments down below, guys. Thank you so much. And so if you're in the mortgage industry, let us know. I mean, I know somebody in it, and they're delivering DoorDash right now because they say nobody's refining at these rates. A lot of people just can't qualify depending on what bank you work with and stuff, and what their qualifications are now, because that is starting to change and taper off a little bit of what qualifications need to be, and that's what's going to happen. And I think if the rates keep going up as the Fed keeps raising rates, right? Then, boy, the real estate market obviously going to take a big hit. I know in a lot of areas it's still coming down. What I'm most interested in, though, is the amount of layoffs that will happen because, like I said, the real estate industry, it touches so many different sectors, and these are good paying jobs, right? I don't care if you're working in construction, plumbers make great money, electricians that are putting the stuff in the house, people doing the mortgages make good money. And so, it's just, real estate agents also make really good money. And so, that's some heavy paychecks or some big paychecks that won't be coming in if you start seeing layoffs. And that's what a lot of people are looking at. And that's one reason the Fed is trying to really slow down that market, because they know they can really affect unemployment with that one, just because it does affect everything, right? If you work in lumber mills, steel mills, all that stuff, it's a big thing. And so, that's a big thing to watch out for. I mean, I won't be surprised if we get to 7% by year end at this point in time on mortgages. Wouldn't shock me a bit, but we'll have to see on that. And I was going to show you guys something. I'm always learning new things about my own country, because one thing, at least when I grew up, it was very selective on what you got to learn in history. And one thing America is really good at is the bad things we tend to hide or not talk about very often, right? And teach the young kids. And so it falls upon us to teach ourselves and to learn, right? And so, I should have known this was a major problem. My grandma used to tell me stories, but I just didn't put it together because I was a kid when she was telling me about how she used to work in the fields. And, born in Alabama, never went to school, that kind of thing. Never graduated, nothing like that. And my uncles also would have to drop out to help support the family, and they would go to work at very, very young ages. And then I ran across this video, and I showed it to my son because he was complaining about one of his chores, and I'm like, really? I was like, well, let me show you this. And I'm not sure if you guys even knew about this. I didn't know the problem was this bad, especially this bad. I mean, this is shameful. But I guess it shouldn't surprise me. And so take a look at this real quick, real short video.
He traveled extensively, gathering information, interviews, and images of working children across the country. He visited coal mines in Pennsylvania, where adolescent breaker boys worked underground for hours, separating impurities from coal. Sardine cutters in Maine. Oyster shuckers in Louisiana, some as young as 4 years old. Tobacco pickers in Kentucky, cranberry pickers in Massachusetts, beet farms in Colorado, and young messengers and newsboys in cities all over the country. Many of the photos captured adults nearby, supervising the children as they worked. When Hein wasn't allowed access to the mills and factories, he waited outside and documented the comings and goings of its workers, whose shifts often lasted late into the night.
And I'm going to link that video down in the bottom, so if your kids ever complain about chores, you just show them that one and say, I think you got it pretty easy. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, you see how young those kids are in those mines? Going on a coal mine is hard enough for an adult male to do. Good Lord. Can't imagine being that young, but I don't pass judgment on the adults, but again, that's the way it was. That's just how you're born. I was raised getting whipped with switches and belts and everything else. Nowadays, you do that for a corporal punishment, you're going to jail. So, times just change. Every generation changes, and if you wonder why every generation gets softer, as I like to say, it starts with childhood. There's a reason why, and in a way, I guess it helped out because those kids, most of those kids, I don't know if they'd have been too old for World War II or not, but it definitely being raised hard as a kid, it definitely helped us win World War II, because I always say if my generation had to fight World War II, the stories I heard from my grandpa, I'm not feeling good about it, guys. Just being totally honest and stuff. But anyway, I just want to show that to you. I'll put the link down in the bottom if you just want to teach your kids something that they don't really have it so bad, let me tell you. But one thing, whether or not you like President Biden or not, you better hope him and his administration can head this off, and that is a railroad shutdown. And I told you yesterday that the unions were, obviously 3 of them had already secured like 24% pay raises, and some others were still negotiating, but they got till midnight this Friday to make this work, or you're going to see Amtrak and then the railways that do fuel, food, and everything else, some of them get shut down. And you can see the unions right there. And so that right there would be disastrous and the worst timing to have that happen right now. Right, that's the last thing you need, because what is that going to do? If those railroads do shut down, God forbid, guess what? Prices are going up. That's what's going to happen. Right, we've already kind of seen this movie before. We already went through it, right? And we're just finally starting to get, the pipelines open back up, supply lines open back up and stuff. And so hopefully they can work that out, But the unions are being smart, right? They know right now is the best time for them to negotiate and get theirs, because they are heavily, heavily needed. And especially right for an election. So genius by the unions, by the way. Congrats to you. And I'm sure they're actually going to win, to be honest with you, because they kind of got everybody over a barrel right now. And obviously, if it does happen, or inflation still stays high, or if they drive inflation back up by shutting down, you can bet money right now. You look right here. This is the small business actual earnings changes. And if you ain't noticed on the right there, it's dropping straight down like a meteorite. And it's only been lower from where it is right now in 2020, 2000, and looks like 11-ish, and then around late 1970s when we had inflation. And I think that's something you're going to continue to see happen, because remember, who gets affected more by inflation input costs? Small businesses. That's just the way it is. They can't deal with it like the big conglomerates can and use their size to help them out. And so I think that's most likely going to continue to drop. We'll have to see. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, this $2 trillion. I kept saying, man, you keep hearing about $2 trillion. We got $2 trillion. Right? We got $2 trillion. More, right? The consumers and all this stuff, right? And I kept trying, where are they getting this data from? And I'm just no expert on the repo program, right? But then it was right in front of my face this whole time. I even did a video on it, didn't realize what I was talking about months and months ago. And it's right here. Like, if you look right here, right here on the FRED, it was the Fed's overnight reverse repo purchase agreements. It's right there, $2 trillion starting in June is when it actually hit. and then it's just stayed at $2 trillion, right? And if you look to the left, you can see, I mean, my God, we've never been anywhere near this, but this shows you the amount of liquidity issues we have in this country and the excess liquidity. And so what's happening is, we're making all these deposits from the checks and the stimulus and everything else, right? And these, different kind of tax cuts, blah, blah, blah. And obviously we don't have to pay student loans. We didn't have to pay rents or mortgages or pretty much pay anything for a long time. And so people just kept depositing this money, and the banks are like, dude, we got too much money. We got too much money. And so they're putting it in to the Fed. They say, here you go. And the Fed, I think, issues them the Treasury or something in reverse. And I think they earn like 2.3%, which, by the way, the pissed off part for me comes, they're earning 2.3%. And if you look, what they're paying out us, like this is Bank of America. They're one of the major banks, right? Look at those interest rates. That is pathetic. I mean, and it don't get no better. We go down to CDs and stuff where you got to put in there for, a lot longer, and it ain't no better. Look at that. They're getting paid, remember, 2.3%. And Wells Fargo's the same. I checked it. They ain't no better. And so that's why you got to go to these online banks right here. Like you can get 2% on Citizens, Lending Club, Citibank. And so you're better off going there. But isn't it just amazing? Like we make all these deposits and say, oh, cool, we'll park it. And they make I don't know. I didn't do the math right there. But if we're making 2.3 and they're paying us 0.05, I mean, I'm not going to do the math in my head right now what that is, but it's a lot more than they're giving us, right? And so obviously that's just unbelievable. But thank God it's not in the system. And so that $2 trillion is just sitting there, collecting some interest, blah, 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 blah. But that's what I think they keep talking about. They keep saying, we still got $2 trillion in liquidity. And as they keep trying to take liquidity out, that amount should start to shrink is what should happen, supposedly. We'll have to see again. But, again, it's going to come down, mark my words. I've said this multiple times. I'll continue to say it. The Fed can talk tough. That's great. They need to raise, Fed funds rate for sure. That'll raise other interest rates up, make it more expensive, take liquidity out of the market. But there will come a breaking point because, believe it or not, we do owe money. We have to service our debt. And so, imagine we were at zero rates forever. Imagine going to 4% if we get there. What that's going to do to the debt, I've said this multiple times, like every 1.5% they raise the Fed funds rate or something like that. I forgot how many was it, 400 billion or 500 billion extra in interest payments alone. So imagine going from 0 to 4%. You can do the math. It's a lot. And we still have to service it. That's the way we owe people money. That's just the truth. And so, it's going to be interesting, but there will be a Fed pivot. They will pivot before they ever get inflation under control, most likely. We'll have to see on that. And of course, that will skyrocket the stock market for sure. That's just the way it works. But I just want to put that out there. Let me know what you think about. And I could be totally wrong on that repo stuff, but I think that's where they're getting the $2 trillion from. If you're an expert and you deal a lot with the banks and invest a lot in the banks and work for the banks, know about the repo program, let us know down in the comments and stuff. I sure would appreciate it. And I will end up seeing you guys tomorrow. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for sharing the video. So close to 50,000 subscribers, which is just a personal goal of mine. That's all it is, and I appreciate all your help. So see you guys later.